Yo, what's going on guys? Exploration America here. Today we're going to be doing a story time video. Also, sorry if my lens is a little blurry. I don't know why it's doing this, because I spent like 30 minutes trying to fix it and I can't, so we're just going to make a video anyway. You're probably wondering why I have a dummy next to me. That's because we're going to start a new series on this channel that's called Paranormal Storytimes. This story time is going to have to do with this dummy here, which is probably the craziest paranormal experience I've ever had in my entire life. But before we actually get into it, I want to explain who this dummy is and his background information. This dummy's name is Slappy. Slappy is a fictional character from a story called Goosebumps, which originated in the 90s. There's been books about it, there's been TV shows, there's 2 movies out about it. You can go check that out. He's from the episode called Night of the Living Dummy, also the book. You can go check those out, they're really, really good. I really love Goosebumps, which is the whole reason I even had this dummy to begin with. Basically what Slappy is he's this dummy who was owned by this guy, and he said the magic 3 words which brings this dummy to life. Once this dummy is alive, he basically runs your life and makes you his slave. I didn't say the 3 words, but you'll find out what happened later on in the video. So before I actually tell the story, I want to go over some things about who I am and what I used to do. So, whenever I was younger, probably about 6 or 7, this is when I started roughly, my parents and some of our family and friends used to do ghost hunting, or paranormal investigating, as you also might know it as. Where basically we would go to a location and we would just basically look for ghosts, and we would catch a lot of weird things while we were there. Some unexplainable things that we still cannot explain today. And the whole time that I was doing that, I'm 19 now, almost 20. In 2 months I'll be 20. I've done this since I was like 7. And the whole time that I've done it, I've never had an experience like I've had with this dummy right here. So basically what had happened was, well, before I actually tell what happened with the dummy, I'm just going to say something that has to do with the story real quick. So, I put in LED lights on my TV. Now, the only way for me to turn my LED lights on is to turn on my PS4, because they're hooked into my PS4. So I have to turn on my PS4 and then turn the remote on, turn the lights on with the remote. That's the only way for me to actually turn those lights on. So, back to the dummy part. Okay, so I was in bed one night, and it was probably like 3 or 3:30 in the morning. Now, keep in mind, I usually stay up pretty late. I watch YouTube videos around 3:30. That's about the time I go to bed, usually. Sometimes I stay up a little bit later. And if you don't know, about 3 a.m. is the time where spirits are the most active. Now, I was about to go to sleep. I was watching a YouTube video. And then, all of a sudden, my LED lights on my TV turn on, and they start flashing really fast. And then it feels like there's a spider crawling up my leg, so I jump out of my bed and I start freaking out because I think there's a spider on my leg. So I look on my leg, there's nothing there, but it felt like there was something crawling there. So I checked my bed, I checked the floor, I checked everywhere. I didn't see a spider at all. So I just turned my lights off and I laid back down in my bed. I thought it was nothing, you know. I've had weird stuff happen to me my whole entire life because of spirits, so it didn't really bother me. But then, you know, I turned my light off, and then I turned my LEDs back off, and I laid there for a couple of seconds. All of a sudden, this dummy here, Slappy, now keep in mind, he's on my shelf, and my shelf is next to my bed, and he sits about like he is now, up against the wall. My shelf is bolted onto the wall. This dummy flies off of my shelf into my lap. And I'm not even joking, you guys. I know it might seem far-fetched because this is a fictional character and this story is not real. This is all a fake story. But what happened to me was not fake. And if I would have had my camera on to record it, then I would have had all the proof in the world. But obviously, when something like that happens, you don't think to grab your camera because you're so mind-blown and shocked that you don't know what to do. That's basically what happened with me right here. So, I've had a lot of weird experiences with this doll. I've never had an experience like that. I love Goosebumps, but that freaked me the hell out whenever that happened to me. Now, I bought this doll on Mercari for about $25, I want to say, free shipping. Brand new in the package. Usually these things go for a little bit of money. I've seen them go for upwards of $100 sometimes, maybe a little bit more, depending on the quality or the condition that it's in. Mine was in mint condition, as you can see. There's nothing wrong with them. I still have the package and everything. Nothing wrong with the package. But whenever I bought it, I was like, that's a really cheap price for this doll. And there wasn't even a description for the doll. And he said he needed it gone ASAP. Obviously, I like Goosebumps, so I purchased him. He was shipped to me. Perfect condition when he got here. I was stoked to have him. I took him out of the package and I put him on my shelf the first few nights. Never had any problems. I had him sitting just like he is now, except I had his arms crossed over like this. Well, I can't do it with him sitting like this because he's not on my shelf, but I had his arms crossed, kind of like they are now. Never had an issue until a couple of days later. What had happened was, I came home one day, I think I just got my mom from work, and I came home, walked in my room, and his arms went from this to this, and his legs were like this, and he was just hunched over, like leaning up against one of my masks. I have a bunch of masks on that shelf, and he was just sitting like that, but he was leaning over against my mask. Keep in mind, nobody ever goes in my room and touches anything, because they know that I don't like whenever people touch my collection. And if you guys don't know, I collect horror stuff. I collect horror figures, dolls, all sorts of stuff. So nothing like this really bothers me, it just kind of shocks me. I keep him sitting with his arms crossed constantly. I never move him. I keep him sitting on the same shelf, in the same position every single day. And in the story, it said that he doesn't like sitting on a shelf for a long period of time. Now I know the story is not real, but it seems kind of weird that he would be sitting on the shelf for days and then just automatically just jump off the shelf on me when I'm trying to sleep. And I know that's hard to believe considering a lot of you guys probably don't believe in spirits. If you guys experienced what I did, then you would probably believe. I would love to set up a security camera in my room to catch these sort of things happening. If I had the money for a security camera, I would. Whenever I come home that one day, it was just like this, leaning over against my mask. I fixed him. I put his arms back together like this, closed his legs, and I'm sitting straight up. I can't do that because he's on a box, but you know, I'm sitting straight up, arms crossed. He'd sit there for a couple of days, his arms would unfold again, and he'd be in a different position. Constantly, every week, he's in a different position. And his mouth does move from this string in the back here, but I've never had anything like that happen. I've only had him move or thrown at me. It's like whatever is taking place with him, whatever has an attraction to him, doesn't want me in this house or doesn't want to be around me. I've had weird experiences like this ever since I moved to Edmonton and back to Glasgow, because when I moved to Edmonton I lived next to a cemetery, and that cemetery was a very small cemetery. The church was not connected to the cemetery, it was actually down the road from the cemetery. So I went to the cemetery one day, I took some pictures, I did an EMF session and an EVP session. I didn't catch anything, but I came home that day. I didn't have anything with me except for my camera equipment. I came home that day and I just felt weird that entire night, and ever since then I just had this weird feeling that I'm being watched constantly. Then I buy this doll, or dummy, whatever you want to call him, and all this weird stuff starts happening, like things getting misplaced, things just disappearing, him moving, my other dolls moving. I have a Freddy Krueger doll that's a pull string. You pull the string in his back and he talks. His voice is really muffled though because his battery's dying. I keep him in the box and never take him out. He's sitting on top of my toy chest. All of a sudden one night at like 3 a.m. he starts talking like I pulled a string. He only talked one time. After that, nothing happened. And then I start having the problems with Slappy. It's like it goes from doll to doll every week. If anything else happens, I'll keep you guys updated with him. And I guess that'll be the story for this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Hopefully I will have another urban exploring video coming this week or next week. I don't know. It's supposed to snow and rain. If not, I'll just have another story time coming for you guys. But I will see you then. Peace.